Since gaining independence, Ukraine has modernized and become a more open society. But for the Ukrainian police force, adapting to a democratic political system has been slow. Amnesty International continues to work with victims of police abuses in the country. Researcher Heather McGill has been documenting cases for the past 7 years.
И потом, что случилось?
Ну, в общем-то, несколько раз они мне одевали, снимали, и при этом говорили: признавайся, сознавайся, били по голове, ну, по губам. Кто-то меня, один меня держал за ноги, а второй за плечи, потому что я, вставала.
It's extremely difficult and traumatic for people to pursue their complaints. It's not something that anybody would go into lightly. And for instance, Svetlana Pomilyaika, who was tortured by police officers in Kharkiv, she told me how she's now been invited to a face-to-face interview with the very men who tortured her in the same police station where she was tortured. So she will have to go through the trauma of that to try and get justice.
Sergei Fesik is another person trying to get justice after being targeted by the Kharkiv police. They picked him up while he was smoking a cigarette outside a local cafe.
Я вышел из кафе, стоял на улице, курил. Ко мне подошли сотрудники милиции. Попросили документы. Документов у меня с собой не было. Попросили с ним проехать в отделение милиции. Меня привезли, разбили лицо. Забрали у меня телефон, надели наручники и вытянули с клетки. Посадили на лавочку. Один из сотрудников милиции выбежал в коридор. Спустя минуты 2-3 забежало с ним 2 или 3 человек. Меня свалили на пол, начали бить. И до утра продолжалось. Потом я потерял сознание. Когда пришел в сознание, уже была скорая помощь. Когда меня вывели с отделения.
After his release, Sergei went to the prosecutor's office to complain. He was given a police report that stated unknown people had beaten him. Then he was taken to another police station nearby and threatened until he signed it. One of the legacies of Soviet-style policing is the expectation that police will solve over 60% of crimes. This puts massive pressure on the police officers to achieve results regardless of the methods. They regularly take the law into their own hands and get away with it. While in Kharkiv, we visited Anna Strogan. She had recently been on local television in an attempt to get justice for her husband, Yakov. He found himself on the wrong side of the police after he got into a fistfight with his neighbour. The police came and arrested him, and then he disappeared.
Как можно передать чувства словами? Для меня вообще три дня этих были ужасные, потому что я не знала, где мой муж находится. И в это же время моей куме адвокат предлагает заплатить $10 000, и мой муж будет сразу же на свободе.
Yakov had first been taken to nearby woods, where police tried to torture him into confessing to false charges. They electrocuted him until he passed out, and then poured toxic liquid down his throat to revive him. He was then held incommunicado for days, while police tried to extort money from his wife.
Я отказала всем на все эти звонки. Вот, мне пошли угрозы, опять-таки с этих звонков, угрозы, что Яше будет плохо, что он будет сидеть по серьезной статье, что его не отпустят.
When finally released, Yakov also lodged a complaint with the prosecutor. Again, no criminal investigation was opened. So he took part in a press conference and publicised his complaint, only to be rearrested, beaten again, and charged with attempted murder.
It's extremely important that the Ukrainian government simply gives a very clear message that these kind of things won't be tolerated. And the most effective way of doing that is by prosecuting every single policeman who does these things, but also by listening to every complaint that people make about the actions of police officers.
Public opinion of the police is at a particularly low ebb. 6 hours' drive from Kharkiv is the capital, Kiev. In 2010, The death in custody of Ihor Idyilo and then Dmitry Yeshchuk in a Kiev police station led to nationwide protests. Ihor and a friend were arrested for being drunk and disorderly while celebrating his 20th birthday. CCTV footage shows Ihor being dragged into a police cell and then left until found dead in the morning. Police stated he had choked to death, but an autopsy revealed he had died as a result of a fractured skull and internal bleeding. And there are many unanswered questions, not only in his case, but for victims across the country. Amnesty International's message is simple. Ukraine is not doing enough to stop human rights violations by the police. Ukraine's President Yanukovych has declared he has direct control over the promotion and unconditional protection of human rights. So why don't you send him a letter, email or tweet demanding an end to torture at the hands of the police?